Hi, welcome to the Superconnectors podcast. On this episode, we talk to Mickey and Linky Chen, co-founders of Minite. Minite is a platform that connects students and companies in order to find study-related work opportunities while also ensuring an equal hiring process. So Mickey and Linky participated in our Superconnectors event and found a breakthrough connection and a mentor. So in this episode, they bring up a new critical ask, so tune in to find out what it's about. Hi guys, I'm Dina. I'm the content marketeer at Superconnectors, and today we want to welcome you to the Super Podcast, where we highlight the experiences and stories of founders and Superconnectors. And today we're here with Mickey and Linky, CEO and co-founders of Minite, right? We consider a great success story. We're excited to have you guys on the podcast today. And just briefly, Minite is a platform that helps talented students have direct access to freelance jobs, gigs, internships, and possibly in the future full-time positions. And you help them gain experiences for eventually being in the work field when they graduate. And you do so by making it an equal process for everyone, right? This was your goal. So can you start off by telling us what Minite does exactly and what you guys stand for? What is your...
All right, so of course. So Minite is a student platform where we aim to connect students with companies, both startups, scale-ups, but also larger corporates, to help students find study-related work experience. So think about, as you mentioned already, freelance jobs, side gigs, internships, but it can also be a step up to your next career. We're working with larger corporates, Eurofin, Stopdesk, for example, to craft the best careers for students. And you mentioned it already yourself as well, but we're very much focused around an equal hiring process. And what that means is that in the first screening, all of the data of our students is anonymized. So you wouldn't know if the person applying is a man or a woman, whether that person is 18 or 28 years old, where they come from. You can't see profile pictures, none of those things. And then we supplement those profiles with data as well. So think about assessments that students take on our profile, a personality test, an attention to detail test. All of those scores are visible on their profiles. Then we supplement it with AI as well. We use several algorithms to track the behavior of students on our platform, because a lot of things that you do on a platform can say a lot about you as a person. And so that's essentially how we call them 360-degree data profiles on our students.
Okay, and you work with a lot of universities, especially Erasmus?
We're very close with Erasmus University, indeed. Yeah, our office is there as well, actually.
Okay, nice. And this started, you had a similar experience where this is how you started with the idea, where you struggled to find a position, right? Based on the background, and this is what got you to start the idea, right?
It's very much twofold indeed, and I think a lot of people can relate to this challenge of being a student and studying something and then having a side job that is in no way related to what you're studying. So a lot of us end up in blue collar jobs. I mean, we've done the same, right? Loads of waitressing, supermarket kind of jobs. Yeah. Exactly. And then the question is, to what extent does that truly add to your CV, right? So that's the reason why we started Minite. And then the part of equal hiring came in play when I was a recent graduate. I applied for a traineeship at a bigger bank, and I got rejected because in the actual words of the hiring manager, he said, I just have a feeling, I can't quite explain it, but my gut feeling tells me that you're not a good fit for this role. And partly probably because in retail banking, because this was a retail banking traineeship, people need to be able to identify themselves with us. And it's just a little bit harder for people to identify with someone like you. And for the longest time, I didn't understand what that truly meant until I grew up and I realized what he meant is that I didn't fit the standard profile of the average banker. And that's when I decided we shouldn't just be a work platform for students, but we should add an extra dimension of creating equality for all students.
Okay, and then moving on, you guys took part of the Superconnectors, right, event in 2022, right?
I think it was the second edition of Superconnectors.
Because we did it annually back then. Yeah. Okay, it was part of Upstream, I believe. And what led you guys to eventually participate at Superconnectors? We were quite small back then. So what was it like?
I think it was Lars or Lisette who actually reached out to us. Mm-hmm. You want to participate?
I think so, from Up Rotterdam. Yeah, indeed. Actually, 2 years ago, we had just gotten to know the Up Rotterdam initiative. And I think it was them who were saying like, hey, there's this really cool initiatives that's being created. And I believe Superconnectors at that time, that specific edition was part of Upstream, if I'm not wrong.
Could be.
Right? And it was like a side event.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the technical guy.
Yes. Yeah. He was.
The guy says yes.
I don't know if he was there even back then, or
I was in the crowd.
he was in the crowd.
You were a
You were there as
Superconnector,
well.
right?
Yeah. That's where it all started.
that. I remember because the technical guy raised his hand for one of the challenges that we had. I remember that. So yeah, it's been 2 years. My God, time flies.
Oh, okay. And you pitched there and everything. So where was Minute at back then? Like in terms of you had a critical challenge, right? Like what was Minute looking for back then?
Wow, 2 years ago.
I think our challenge back then was we just had started and we were looking to connect with other entrepreneurs who already built a platform themselves.
Mhm.
So we could basically learn from them because we were in the process of rebuilding the whole platform. So that
Okay.
was our critical aspect then.
Okay.
Right.
And you guys told me a story of the pitch event. Could you tell me how it was for you guys? Like pitching and the bidding process and all of that.
It was great.
It's great.
It's reverse pitching, right?
Yeah.
We asked for something and then the connectors were kind of fighting or competing with each other to see who can help the startups the best.
Mhm.
I think it was very, very original, very innovative, and I think very cool
Mhm.
to be able to help startups further with them opening up their network for us, basically.
Okay.
What's really nice about it is that a lot of times when someone is presenting, you always see people in the audience. There's always a percentage of people that are just on their phones or like doing something else, right? Because we got short attention spans. But with Superconnectors, you can't quite do that because as a Superconnector in the audience, you got to listen to the startups that are pitching because you are actively trying to pitch yourself out there as a Superconnector, right? So what I really liked about it is how interactive it was and how after every pitch, there were so many Superconnectors like putting up their signs and like it's really it's very much like an auction. So it adds this extra dimension of interactiveness and it's much better than this very stiff kind of one person presents and the rest listens kind of format. So I really enjoyed that.
It's funny you say the phone thing because we've actually switched to a phone-based like bidding process. So now you have to be on your phone to actually
That's true actually
bid.
because I was
Right.
at the Superconnectors. I'm looking at technical guy again. Where was that event? Impact Fest, could that be?
In The Hague.
In The Hague.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I think when suddenly I saw everybody on their phones and I was like, what
Yeah.
are we doing? But then indeed they were bidding. And it was quite funny. It
So
was
we're
very
working
nice.
on that now. It's the new
That's
way
cool.
of doing it. Yeah, and now you have the bids on the screen and everything. I'm not sure how different it was back then.
Back in our day, it was a physical bid.
And you had to
was a paper
remember.
set.
Oh
Yes,
my god,
not
that must
digital,
have
yeah.
been very
good old
overwhelming. I
days.
can imagine. Okay, but you guys didn't actually get a pitch during the event, right? We can talk about that. You got it post-event through a Superconnector that actually found you, right? You were telling me.
Say it again.
Pepijn, right? He found you post-event, and then he contacted you, and he
Right. No, that's true. So Pepijn from TMM Ventures was meant to be one of the Superconnectors
Yep.
at the event. So he'd been doing his pre-work and researching all of the startups that were going to be pitching that day. And for some reason, Pepijn couldn't make it that day. But somehow Minute caught his eye, and he was like, well, even though I couldn't be there, I'd still like to talk to you girls because I really love this proposition. So we had a conversation with Pepijn, and then he said, how very interesting. I am going to have one of my portfolios tested out and see how good your students really are. So we did that, and then we placed 2 students there, and the portfolio company was like, holy mackerel, like this is awesome. Can we have more? And then Pepijn said, okay, wait, I have more portfolio companies. And then at some point, Pepijn said, well, clearly you guys are really good in what you do in matching talent, so come and deliver students to TMM Ventures directly as well. And I think in total, perhaps we've delivered 15, if not more students to all of the portfolio companies of Pepijn, to Pepijn itself, but also to Pepijn's friends, because he kept spreading the word and saying to everyone, if you need good talent, literally go to these sisters.
Actually, so he was a true Superconnector, even though he wasn't physically there at the event.
Yeah. Okay. So was that, you think, we like to call it the breakthrough moment, but do you think you've reached that breakthrough moment, or do you think it's more of a process when it comes to you? Because you opened a lot of doors for you, right?
Depends how you define breakthrough moment.
I mean, do we have a definition for it? Whatever you define is the moment where you think you've resolved your critical ask and you move on to the next, basically. Like, are you done with your past critical ask is my question specifically.
Well, I think as to whether we're done with the critical ask, I want to say yes, because our critical ask was related to our platform. At that time, as Linky was mentioning, we were completely rebuilding that platform. That, after a lot of trial and error, worked. So we launched that a little over a year ago, a fully automated platform. Pepijn actually also helped us a lot in that. He was one of our pilot testers, and he helped us figure out all of the bugs and taught us a lot of stuff about user experience. So in that sense, I want to say not only did he help partly solve our critical ask, but also helped us grow on our new platform that we launched with all of these clients that he brought on.
Okay. So Superconnector / mentor /
tester / customer / everything.
Okay. Yeah, because we still have really good contact with Pepijn to this day, and I think he has become a mentor of us as well. And a lot have come out of us from that event.
Yep. Yeah. And now his other company is also a client, Bilink. And the gift just keeps on giving.
So Pepijn, maybe we should also bring him to the Success Story podcast. He seems like an ideal person to have on here to tell us his side of the experience. Okay.
Maybe he'll say something completely different.
Okay. So now moving on, what's the bigger vision for the future? What's your next critical challenge? You have a new one?
Yeah, so what we've seen lately is that the community has been growing very rapidly. So I think 2 years ago, how many students did we have? A few thousand.
Yeah.
I want to say not more than 3,000 probably. And now we've surpassed 18,000. And all of that has happened organically. We tend to not spend marketing budgets. And now the question is, with a pool that large, how do you ensure that you can offer enough added value to each and every one of those students? Because people come to us because they consider Minute as their, I want to say, almost like a guiding buddy through university, right? But students are also graduating, and so they turn to us and they ask, hey, Minute, I'm about to graduate. I've done 3 years of freelancing with you guys. Can you now help me find my full-time job? And that's why we've launched several partnerships. We actually have a really exciting one, but we're waiting for the press release, so we can't name it yet. But it's a huge multinational. I'm super excited about it, and it's going to be a really big partnership. And the idea behind that is offering our graduating students more opportunities to, it's kind of like a soft launch into the first steps of your career. So that's where we're headed.
Okay. So what's your critical ask here? With this, because it seems like your challenge has been resolved.
Pitch again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's where
I
we're
like
moving
it.
now. Double pitch.
Okay. Let's grab this opportunity.
What should we ask?
Aim are for the scale-ups, let's say larger companies with the full-time position. But then we have to formulate very
specifically.
Yeah. Where do you want to focus?
What's the most? How we like to frame it.
Maybe so far we've been doing a lot of side jobs for students in freelancing, which was with a lot of startups and scale-ups. Now, because they are graduating, we are looking for any companies and partners that can help us basically provide the job opportunities for the graduates as well, which is full-time starter jobs, traineeships, for example. Those kind of companies would be looking for.
All right, now formulated.
Yeah, that's the difficult part. This was the most difficult part in
Superconnectors.
Yeah.
In general,
very specifically.
We get that a lot.
Yeah.
So we would be looking for fast-growing scale-ups, larger companies, including corporates as well, that are looking not just to hire students on a freelance basis, but also more long-term on a full-time basis, specifically for our graduating class of this year. Essentially, it can be traineeships, it can be full-time jobs for starters, anything that helps our students launch their careers.
Sure. Nice. And what would your breakthrough moment from that look like? Like, what would be the point where, I don't know, the finishing point?
Measure it.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your
Nice.
measure
I
of it?
like it. It has to be
is
I like it. I like it.
When is that a success? I want to say if we have placed 50 to 100 students by this summer in jobs with ideally scale-ups, right? I mean, scale-ups are the most fun to be around, right? Or traineeships with corporates.
Okay. Hopefully it gets to the right to the right people.
Yeah, no, sounds great. And then maybe my last question is, how can we as founders help support Superconnectors? Maybe what is your critical ask for all of the founders maybe listening to this?
For the founders, just spread your stories. I feel like that's the purpose of this podcast, is just share your experiences. Because, I mean, from me coming into this company, I feel like newly, also a bit recently, I feel like our purpose is to give back to founders in the best way, in whichever way we can. So maybe just share your success story, whichever way it may be. It doesn't have to be like you won something crazy or you did something crazy, but I think the experience in itself is also very nice.
Yeah,
so
we'll keep doing that. And we look forward to the event in May.
Yeah, looking forward to having you guys. And yeah, that's it for us. Do we have any other critical ask for founders specifically? I don't know.
Bring more female.
Oh yeah, bring more female founders. If you know, we are going to work more on our diversity point, just like you guys do in your company. So female founders, people of color, people with different, more impactful critical asks companies. So that's also something we're looking for your different types of people, basically.
Will do.
Yeah.
Great.
That's it for me. Thank you for joining, guys. Anything else you would like to add?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you
Always
for
a pleasure.